Okay. Hello, everyone. I think we are already live now. Just check the time. Yeah, the time is counting. So, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar session, considering the test automation D365 finance operations, data management, and executive automats. What I can say, firstly, I would like to check if everyone is hearing us and seeing us. So, if you may share this in the chat section of today's show. You can say where are you located, where are you from, and also you can say an answer to the question if you are seeing us and hearing us correctly. Okay. Hello. Okay. All good. Thank you, guys. Okay, so and we have done the testing, so I think we can hit and run with the session. Okay, guys, thank you for joining us today. Remember also to click and subscribe our Executive Automats YouTube channel. I'm Rafał Nyszewski, and I will be a moderator of today's webinar, Test Automation in D365 Finance Operations, Data Management, and Executive Automats. So moving forward to today's webinar agenda, firstly, we'll do a short introduction considering the data management. Then we'll move to the situation to give you the overview where to execute the test case. Afterwards, we'll move to point which give you the overview. What is the difference between regression testing and the smoke test? And how to assess the data migration on the test environments, DMF and test automation, and how to prevent against offline environment executing test cases. So together with me on the session is Bartosz Szpiech, our product manager of the Executive Automats and Executive Automat Security Setup. And thank you, Bart, for joining me today for this session. And he will drive you through all the topics. And remember to ask any questions during the session. We'll be use the chat section, which we already tested, so it's working. So don't be afraid to ask any question. It will appear during the session, and also we will answer all of those questions by the end of the webinar if we'll have enough time. Okay, but I think the stage is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Raf, for the introductions. Hello, everybody, once again. Happy to be here. Happy to see all familiar faces on LinkedIn and also YouTube. So happy to see you guys. Yeah, I'll in a moment share the screen with application and showcases which we prepared for you. But we're going to start with the quick graph to outline the environments and ideas where to execute test cases. And as you see now, the finance and operations gives you the possibility to host a lot of applications, and you can have different shape, different set of finance and operations instances, sandboxes. There are some nice approaches you can use. If you're going to do performance testing, this is something which is right now out of the scope, but the sanity check and regression testing, these are two things we're going to discuss today. Sanity check is kind of the same as smoke testing. We can say different names, but they all come into one idea in finance and operations. And we definitely see a value moving from the left side to execute unit test and sanity check on the build environment. This is the moment where developers can benefit from test automation. And if you are a developer and you are testing some specific application functionality that you are developing now, you are able to leverage test automation and just retest your elements before it's going to go to test, where testers, where consultants, and maybe business users will have hands-on on the application. So it is nice to do that. It is now nice to start using this unit test and sanity check on the build environments. Then there is something called development security environment, which is not everybody knows that. This is kind of a new concept, and this concept is very interesting. You can set up another environment which will be dedicated for security roles creation, where you build the roles, and then on those roles you are able to run tests as well. Please keep in mind that the roles are changeable. I mean, they are not stable throughout the one versions. So when the roles are changing, you are able to run your basic pack of the processes against a role, and you are able to see if a specific person with specific security context is capable of doing specific processes. So this is additional validation. Then we have UAT and we have test environments. On both of those, we also can do sanity check / smoke tests. These elements are pretty vital. After UAT, there is a regression environment, and there is a specific reason why we have a dedicated environment for regression testing. It's practically all about access and data migration. Since the regression testing, this is the biggest tool you've got. Considering the testing, the regression should be the most comprehensive. It has to go everywhere. It has to test most complex scenarios. So it is good to have a dedicated environment so you configure it properly. You have data migration done there. You have worker-user relation, workflows. You have budget processor up and running all the time. So it might be on and off environment, but it is good to have a dedicated one where you execute regression testing just to make sure that all components are there for testing. On the UAT, below UAT, there is something called cherry picking. For those of you who doesn't know the idea, cherry picking is moving a solid and sealed functionality, which was a part of the delivery package, which is supposed to go straight to the release. But this is just one component which is ready from the implementation side or from ongoing CI/CD. If your partner is not ready with your full application, but they are ready with just a part which is kind of a sealed, which can be moved as a cherry, as a sealed element, this is the moment where you pick the cherries, you can say, because they are ready and they can be picked and moved to the environment of the further releases of the release and pre-prod. We didn't sort of outline here too much details about pre-prod environment, and that's interesting concept as well here that we want to show you guys. As you see, pre-prod is after production. Pre-prod in that concept is the place where business users are testing their operations on latest data. So what for? Somebody can just say, that's nonsense. But when you are a business user and you would like to do some correction notes, when you would like to do something which is very rare to do, and you have some doubts that you know the exact way how to do that, or you want to perform a specific correction of the warehouse, whatever you have in mind, you can perform that operation on pre-prod, which should be -7 days from production data. So you should refresh the pre-prod with latest data each week. And if you would like to do something for the first time on pre-prod, then you can do on production that process, which was solidified a bit before a second ago on pre-prod. So that's a good approach, and we can say this is not for testers, this is not for consultants, this is just for production users, for people which want to test their operations before they're going to perform something irreversible. So that's kind of the story of quick walk through the applications. We can talk about that a bit more. If somebody will have some questions about that, more specific use cases, we can definitely focus on that in a moment. This graph is quite complicated, but we have to outline this kind of a myth which exists. Thank you, Ake Davidson, for pointing out the support environment. Indeed, support environment is something which definitely we've seen on some cases. It is not super heavily sort of used by our customers, but indeed support environment could be placed before, or it can be actually named the same way how we call test environment, where you recreate some elements from production. Yeah, I will try to add this concept to our graph in the further stage. Regression testing versus smoke testing is something which it is good to understand, because most of the people, when they do recognize the danger which comes from one version, when it comes to massive amount of reiterations of testing that you have to perform, this is something that you have to perform some testing. You have to kind of prepare yourself. You have to pick some tool sets in order to prepare for each one version. If you're gonna tell, I'm gonna perform regression testing for every release I'm gonna perform, this might be a massive investment for you. That's why we always focus on low-hanging fruits, so-called smoke tests, or sanity check, where you make automation around the common processes, the most used processes across the organization, and then you move forward to those lower level where you do variations, where you do company specifics, entity specific processes. So you are focusing on the processes which can be done repetitively, which can be done aside of data which exists on the environment. So we just want to do test automation on our core with the smallest possible investment. The regression will come when we're going to be ready, when we're going to have that base package. Then we do more focus on data migrations, about the system integration testing, where we have specific integration elements that we want to test. So these elements can be important, but they are expensive because you have to configure that within each run. That's why we are performing smoke tests, and the concept is that you do the smoke tests bi-weekly or monthly, and then you are able to build kind of a progression, how your system, what is the health status. We're going to show the progression report in a second, but that's very important to repeat that specific pack of the process very often. And if you ask why I should test the same process 3 times in a month, even though the system is changed once, it is all about corner cases. Because if you're going to execute 5 times the same test cases, you might find out that some journal was left open, another one is blocked, and you can't create the third one. There is a database deadlock. You are able to find out some very rare cases where they simply need more repetitive executions. So it is good to record some test cases which can be easily repeat over and over without your maintenance, and then you are able to benefit from findings of those those corner cases. When it comes to regression, it is just more complicated. This graph is kind of small for you. I don't believe that we are able to magnify some elements here. Raf, can you do that? Awesome, thank you so much. So as you see here, we have scope preparation, data preparation, then we are executing test cases. And if the bugs are found, we do triage. Triage means that we are finding out if some test cases are actually the error message we found is actually a bug, or this is a feature. We always tell with a smile. And if it is a bug, we start the whole path how to fix, and then just to make sure that within the latest iteration we're going to have no error messages, nothing was found new, and then we are able to deploy, so go the lower path below. All these informations will also come in our ebook, which we're working on. So this is something you can expect from us in the near future. I see more questions on the chat, so I will try to continue with the flow and then circle back to them a bit later on. Yeah, so let's go to the next slide. So I was mentioning before the reporting, and reporting is important. In here, you see the idea about repetitive execution of specific set of the test cases. This is for smoke testing, sanity check. On the right corner of the Power BI report, we have the green and red line. Red line covers error messages number. So we clearly see how many error messages we had versus how many successes. Of course, the smoke test package grows practically each month, depending on the pace, how many new test cases you record. But this is a snowball which grows, and in a year from today, if you have 50 today test cases, you're probably going to have 3 times more, and then you will have much more system coverage. But then execution of these test cases are giving it a feeling, and business users can come in here and they're going to say, all right, I feel kind of confident. We've executed 150 test cases. Most of them, they succeeded. We have some error messages, the red line, so I can focus on them. I can see if this is from my area. So within the verification, the results, specific business user from that vision, they can say, oops, I have to focus on the business. I have to focus on the new release because there is some danger for me. And this should be the way how we work. This should be the way how we should occupy the business users, not asking them to perform very repetitive things in the system after hours, to ask them to test, but ask them only when something goes wrong. Ask the business users only when we are actually facing some difficulties, that we found some error messages, and they can be helpful just to recognize if it is a problem or not. Yeah, let's go forward. And all these slides, they're going to be available for you guys if you're going to need that, definitely. How to assess data migration on the test environments. So we're going to show you today a few things from the showcases in Dynamics. We've prepared DMF, quick example of DMF, very simple one, but I think this is going to be understandable how you are able to build a base package of the data. And I think just walking through the slide, we're going to jump in Dynamics to explain you more in detail. The test cases, they need data. Without data, most of the test cases, they're going to struggle with execution. It depends on you. How you're going to record the test case, of course. If you're going to have your sales creation, you always select the first customer, it will always work. Unless the first customer will become blocked from customer credit limit. This might be some downsides, but you are able to find out some logic which will make your scripts unbreakable. So they're going to run hundreds, thousands of times. Each release, you'll be able to benefit from that. Master data, if you're going to create a dummy master data, so think about your old test cases. And you're going to say, all right, we have sales, we have some vendor processes, we have some product management information processes, we have some warehouse locations we need to build, we need to have to perform testing. So I can pick those unique data that I need to use, and I can simply create a DMF for them. So I can create a data import, Excel import, which going to be preloaded before every execution, which going to consist all the necessary data that I need. And then before the test cases, I run the import of the data, then I run the test cases. That's a very simple thing, but it's very powerful, because sometimes it will be easier to create that master data instead of recording test cases for a lot of operations in order to perform the whole process later on. So these elements we're going to do. As you may remember, in AX 2012, I'll start the screen sharing as well in the moment. In AX 2012, we had the functionality called rename, which was powerful. And sometimes you could see that people were damaging the whole system because of because of usage of that functionality. Okay, Raf, if you can change the screen sharing. To my one.
Before that, guys, because we are moving forward to this showcase time. Before that, within seconds, you will receive on the chat section a link to the free trial of the executive automats, because the best way to be in this, I would say, test automation family is to test the most familiar and the most recognizable tool of the internet in terms of the test automation in Dynamics 365, so the executive automat. So feel free to click on the link, book yourself a free trial program. We'll be more than happy to drive you through the test automation journey together, or with all those knowledge which was shown during this few slides before with Bart. Okay, now I will just add to the stream so again, stage is yours, Bart.
Thank you so much. So as you see in the system right now, I'm in finance and operations. This is update 57. So not the current one, but the same functionality exists here. I'm going to jump in the USMF. Entity. And on every record, practically on every record, not from 100%, but system Dynamics gave some limitations, whereas in AX 2012, you could practically do that everywhere. Right now, the rename functionality is kind of limited, but still, you are able to use them for test automation. Let the system load the page. Takes some time. So I'm just circling back to data uniqueness. So if you are running test cases on the system which is refreshed every week because of the data from production comes, and simply saying the new customers are overriding your IDs and you can't run your test cases anymore because the customers are not existing or they're not compatible with your transactions, the good approach would be to make them unique. So you can use that rename functionality and change the current ID, let's say, of the vendor to make it unique. So you can go to any vendor, just simply focus on the ID. Okay, and here underneath the options, you have our old good friend called record information. And the rename functionality. So if you're going to use the rename and you're going to change the current 017 to our testing webinar, of course, you have to be careful to not exceed the number sequence, but they were able to change the vendor ID to make it more unique, far away from number sequence. So if you're going to then export that vendor into the Excel file, every re-import will make sure that you have your vendor available. And thanks to that, you don't need to have any more vendor creation script because this will be a part of something bigger, which will import much more values. Because you can, of course, change location IDs, you can change much more elements, which will, in the result, simplify your whole testing plan. The only disclaimer is that rename functionality doesn't work everywhere. So sometimes it is even easier to modify in the Excel file your ID and don't play around the renaming. But if you need the renaming functionality on the created data in the system, this will be also important, sort of nice hack, we can say, nice tips and tricks from the testing, what it can do. It will take some time because the update goes through all related tables and has to apply the vendor ID in all places. So it will probably take a minute or two. So we're going to keep it open on that site. And I'm going to go here to show you two more things. The other showcase which we want to show you is about the execution of the test cases. So as you know, our application, the Executive Automats for testing, gives you the possibility to use some more custom or, let's say, advanced code functions. You are able to write code here, and this code actually was created by ChatGPT. So you don't need to have so much. You don't need to have so much knowledge of coding. You are able just to fetch from Power Azure portal information how to run your system. Tell the ChatGPT how to do that, and ChatGPT will create for you the whole code, which we're just placing in Executive Automats. And then any moment I'm running this test case, it will turn on my my Dynamics Finance and Operations machine. So very often you have everything prepared. You are just about to run your Friday evening tests. So you have 300 test cases. Everything is super important. Monday morning, everybody expects the results. But Saturday, when it all goes, it all falls apart because the environment was offline. Because nobody actually checked that the environment which we're going to run our test cases against will be online, which is madness. And if you are testing on Monday, you will not meet the deadline, so you're going to have multiple other problems coming after you. So you are able to build some very simple tricks here with Azure Portal and Advanced Code. And then if I'm going to run this test case, system is simply executing the code, which turns on finance and operations environment, even though it was offline a second ago. So this is just one step, technical step, which is doing that execution. If you would like to learn more about details, how to generate that link, I can send you later on some materials. But this, thanks to the ChatGPT, everybody can do that. And it can be a lifesaver or simply time saver for you guys. We're going to run the test case to turn on the environment. I will show you the proof that the environment right now is not turned on. E54. And when we're going to refresh, it should be turned on in a moment. In the meantime, let's come back to the other part of the showcase we prepared. So our test cases in Executive Automats here, they are focused on fixed asset creation, create building an asset, create new config, counting in journal entries, a lot of processes, we can say. The first test case here is called data management script, a little bit different. I can run this so you can see exactly what system is doing. But system goes straight to data management workspace, where we are able to utilize our preset of the data migration, which is going to be used for our testing. So let's wait for our system to load, and we'll be able to walk you through, guys, for that. Okay, system is loaded. In the meantime, as you see, we are not providing any credentials, anything. Everything is automatic. We are just simplifying the whole testing process. And this session might be quite technical, but yeah, we just want to show you a bit more what you can expect from the automation. Not only the simple stuff, but in here we are just utilizing the OData, the core of the functionalities the system gives you to perform customer creation through DMF. So we executed a test case which went through the import projects, and it is creating a customer. And right now we are just waiting for execution. And then in a few moments, we'll see pending one. It should create one customer for our instance. So if you're going to make it more complex, this data import can do create customers, vendors, and much, much more elements. So your test case, which will have just 10 steps, will create massive amount of master data for you. So all test cases will have the possibility to be executed. And as you see here in staging data, we see that our US webinar customer was created. And if we're going to go here to accounts receivables, all customers on USMF, we're going to see our customer existing. So then my all processes, which are based on that customer, they can be now executed. I don't need to be worried about the data inconsistency, that data is not existing on the environment. So from those simple stuff that you can do with the application, you can dive in some very advanced elements, like data migration or turning on environment on demand based on Postman requests. So you can see that Executive Automate has very wide scope, and the reason why we do so much in Dynamics is simply because we have over 11 years of expertise and experience in testing ERP systems. That's why we've created the software like this, and we are more than happy to answer some more questions for you guys. So I think if there are any questions, I will try to come back to those asked on the beginning of the session. But if you have more questions regarding the DMF, renaming functionality, or data migration, let's focus on them.
So Bart, I would just navigate through the questions which we already have from the beginning of the session. But before that, guys, remember to book yourself a free trial program with us to have a chance to even use the ChatGPT to create the advanced code as the single step in our test execution in our app. So moving to the questions, I would just maybe I will do that like that. I will maybe put ourselves here. Yeah. As the environment will be ready, we'll share the screen. But before that, we'll address the questions, and we'll just move through the questions already addressed. Okay. We have addressed the Davidson comment considering the support environment. So we'll move from that. The question from Ali for I think 2M model. How could this help also?
Life cycle management. Ali, could you please rephrase the LM?
Exactly. And we come back to it. After that, we'll come back to the question.
Thank you so much.
And then there's a new comment. Okay. I'm used to utilize the handling incident management to find the root case separated, so you can try out if how to create a transaction in production environment, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's correct.
That makes sense, and a great option. Fully recommend to do that. So support environment can probably be the same as we have the pre-prod because we do support there as well. So true, we can either change the pre-prod name to support or keep it with the same concept. But as Ake is making that statement, that's good approach and definitely the recommendation because the market goes that direction. We want to give our business users a sandbox where they can test their operations which they are having problem with, or they have some bugs, so they want to redo that on latest production data. Automation can help you as well very intensively if you're gonna do automate the data migration from prod to that pre-prod or support environment. So that could be a very good recommendation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bart. Okay, another question. I think we have already answered to that, but could you share the slides to us where the can download? So basically, I'll hold this session as record, and you will receive the recording from the session to the email address which you have registered with. So please be aware of that. So check your all email boxes. Also, there will be recording slides and everything which you will basically need after the session.
And if you're going to need some more sessions dedicated or just walk through the DMF, if you are using different tools than ours as well, yeah, let us know. We can have a quick catch up where we can explain how to build that, or if you're going to face difficulties with not available DMF entities, we can help you out. There are some tricks you have to perform to make it correct. So yeah, we have some with a pleasure we can help you out doing that.
Okay, thank you, Bart. Another session. Another question from LinkedIn user. Curious to know how can we use this scripts for the point of sales validation?
Sure, good question. Let me see if our environment for POS is open here. But indeed, you are able to record test cases on CPOS, and you are able to, kind of do the same over the back office. So, if you'd like to run some jobs for retail, publish some changes to workers, and then go to CPOS or make replenishment and do transaction on CPOS, you are able to do that. And the only thing you do change is simply the link. Let me see if I'm able to show you that, guys, in a second. But indeed, actually, I was not preparing for the session, but yeah.
So maybe, Bart, we can have, I think, another session considering the POSs. So guys, give us a comment if it's something which you would like to see and how to perform the regression in point of sales with our test automation tool. So I see that, and we have another comment from Martin. I like the idea of importing master data through DMF. We currently have prerequisite EA scripts to generate the data and then save the ID such as customer vendor to global variables. That's correct. Yeah,
exactly. And that's also a good approach. If you have that in place, the maintenance is probably higher on that, but still it works. Still, it's very good. So
exactly.
Yeah, good job.
Thumbs up for that. Okay. Another, the question from Marta. Can we import bill of materials headers and the versions entity and bill of materials lines plus the free entity at the same time?
Yeah, I mean the OCR for vendor invoices. So we don't test the PDF. And
first question is from Marta, Bart, because you have, I think, read the another one. Can we import bill of
sorry. Can we import bill of material headers? I think for your questions regarding this probably needs a sequence. So you need to build your DMF in a specific sequence where it will make it possible. But I think, I can ask some guys from our implementation team. They probably will be more aware of the bills of materials headers. But I think that shouldn't be hard. I think even there is a standard entity for that. So
if you want to see something like that, we will be happy to schedule a demo session to showing that also with the executive automates. This is something which we can do. Okay, another question. Lane, can you test ISV solution, for example, tax or OCR or for vendor invoices, which with this as well, or just only testing with in FO? So basically all the solutions which are abandoned in the code of the Dynamics 365, so all the ESV implementations are visible for our tool. So basically, it can be tested. There's a one question mark concerning the OCR, but this is probably Bart will elaborate it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are not analyzing the PDFs and outcomes, which are more iframes. So this is something which is right now out of the scope. In the future, it will be in the scope. Right now, we are just kind of, we can't guarantee you super stability. But in case you are using applications like Kofax or OCRs, which are separate sites, we have some case studies where we've been able to do the testing around some third-party OCRs.
Yeah.
The good thing is to say that the tool that we've developed is dedicated for finance and operations. It gives you full stability there, but you can try to test. We can't guarantee stability on every site which exists, but you can try to test. And we have very nice case studies of customers which are performing test automation on their third-party sites or their portals, but they are just extending that on their own way. So they are just taking the product into places where we haven't designed it for. But it is very cheerful to see how much they do right now.
Thank you, Bart. Another question. Tushu23. Can we create a test case for the integration scenarios where the data exchange happens with a third-party applications, for example, a vendor collaboration portal application? That's right. As soon as we have all web-based, yeah.
Or we have situation where integration is done by OData between those applications, and that's kind of equal to the DMF testing. So we can say yes, but we will need to understand a little bit more details about their integration, because there is a high chance that you're going to find one way or another one where you can build a whole flow. So let's say end-to-end test case from customer portal, vendor collaboration portal, towards Dynamics, and then maybe ending with some CE or field services.
But still, we have like among list of users, clients which are using the executive automats across the platforms, basically like vendor web-based platform or e-commerce shop, whatever it is. They are having like a test scripts which give them the ability to create such an end-to-end testing scenario. So within one script, you can switch between the applications from DFO, customer engagement, or web-based applications like e-commerce shop or whatever. So basically, this is what we are dealing with on an everyday basis. Okay. I see that. Yes, we would love to see another session on POS validation. Sure.
We'll do it.
Yeah. I believe that LLM was about large language model that to the benefit of AI, you can create the code into. We could imagine that GenAI should be used more widely for instance to generate test data.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, ChatGPT does a lot of crazy stuff with Dynamics, because you are able even to take test cases steps, and it will call the process by its real name, what it does, which is kind of interesting, how the ChatGPT knows stuff. For data generation, what we currently see, since there are a lot of relations and a lot of practically relations plus required fields and rec IDs, which needs to be updated, the ChatGPT doesn't do too much of good work on it, but we can try. I'll do some tests maybe for next webinar, because the import which we did today with Excel file was just simple Excel file with some tables, with some rows, columns. We can try to use ChatGPT to create dummy data and then import massive amount of dummy customers and vendors into the system. So yeah, let's see what we're going to come up with. But that is something we can do, and definitely the ChatGPT that we use right now is mostly for creating code to perform to translate some PowerShell scripts into the JavaScript and place it or extend all data requests to modify them that you run 100 sales order creation, and you would like to see if your count of the orders was actually increased by 100. Yeah, and I would love to outline one more thing that I hope this, because this session was dedicated the kind of advanced one comparing to those which we had before. I hope that we are not overwhelming you guys with technicalities, but I hope you also understand that yeah, we have a lot of people coming in a lot of times for a webinar, so everybody is looking for something for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you for that. I think we have in the list of the questions. I'm just wondering if we are ready with the environment or we should continue.
No, I think today for me it will be hard to turn on. I mean, the finance and operations, which has the CPOS configured, is still starting, so it will probably take 5-10 minutes more. So I would say let's schedule another webinar dedicated for CPOS.
What we can say, thank you for your presence here. We are here to help you to address your questions, and also please don't forget about the link which was shared in the chat section, both for the YouTube and LinkedIn side of the our audience. And I just want to share this again: www.executiveautomats.com EA free trial. Go there, book yourself a free trial program to give us ability to do some kind of proof of concept what you want to utilize our tool in terms of the test automation or regression testing.
And don't forget to visit us on Charlotte Summit.
Exactly.
In US, we're going to do some showcases. We're going to house some trainings as well on it. So,
and also we would love to elaborate any questions you will have there to discuss our methodology of the test automation, how we are testing at everything, considering the executive automats and executive automat security setup. So hoping that we will be able to see a bunch of you guys in person in Charlotte. So, and again, thank you for the session. Thank you, Bart. Thank you all. And see you around next time. Hopefully, maybe about the POSs.
It will be. Thank you so much. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Bye.